Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Bushman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at each life path number, the forecast for the new moon that's occurring on September 14th or 15th, depending on where you live within the world. So before we break it down, I just want to mention that this is, of course, a general reading. If you're interested in a personalized reading where we'll take a look at your own personal numerology in a variety of ways, please book some time with me. My information is in the description box below. I would love to work with you. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. Life Path 11-2. So this new moon is bringing forth the energies of the 15-6 and Armadillo energy. So with 6 energy in Armadillo, I do feel like there's potentially something here where when it comes to your home life or very close relationships, is there something where you have been overly cautious about like taking something to the next level, committing to something, doing something that might be outside of your comfort zone, but that would help to grow your family or grow your experience in some way. And so, this could be like fear of committing to somebody or fear of, having children or because you don't feel ready financially or whatever. Like you want this, but you feel you're overly cautious about it. And so that's keeping you from moving forward type thing. There could be some things that this new moon sort of sheds light on around this time that has to do with these areas where it is that you're sort of really being overly cautious and it's actually hindering you from progression, like from moving forward, right? And so it can be having like sort of the opposite effect where it's actually starting to deteriorate connections, or it's creating some kind of barrier between you and the other person or whatnot. And so just pay attention to that. If there's anywhere that your defenses have been up, you've been overly defensive, or you're feeling that sort of emotional charge with family, friends who are close. This is very like our more intimate relationships. If there's anywhere that you've been overly defensive or you've had your guard up, or you've been overly cautious to move forward in a way that you kind of know is in your best interest, but it's also fear of the unknown or fear of like all the things that we usually fear. Those more irrational fears, right? Then I would say that this is going to be a time to really have those deeper conversations with whoever's involved and especially with yourself to kind of explore a bit deeper what is creating that reservation, like what is creating that pause or that conflict or whatever it is, or what's creating the defensiveness, like what is it that's making you feel defensive or that you have to put your guard up, because there's something at the core that when you can get to that and dismantle it, then you can start to move forward. You can start to be less cautious, and something comes up that you need to face, then you can face it in a much more like equipped way, right? So I would say pay attention to anything that comes up for you around this time that has to do with those things that are really impeding progression forward. With the 6 energy, there's definitely, brings the focus into the home or into our very like intimate, immediate relationships. And it can bring up to the surface things that we've been trying to avoid. And so those more difficult conversations, those potential breakups, those, conversations about, starting a family, even if you don't feel ready, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that isn't balanced or doesn't feel aligned, or anything that we're not being honest with ourselves or others about can absolutely come to the surface under a 6 cycle. So it's best to deal with it when it shows up, as opposed to, becoming overly defensive or trying to avoid it or push it to the side, because it's just going to keep bubbling up. And every time it does, it's going to be more explosive. And so I would say, deal with it by the invitation of it presenting, as opposed to waiting until the universe has some kind of divine intervention come through. Now, with the 6 energy, it's the 15-6 energy. So there's absolutely something here where there might be some kind of a struggle with your freedom and being sort of tied down or overly committed. So it's almost like, that's why I say there might be something where it's like you're wanting to take a relationship to the next level, but you have fears around losing your independence or fears around your change of status, whatever that may be. Or, starting a family, but then the changes that inevitably will bring. Financial, change of lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. So there's definitely some deeper, bigger conversation that potentially could be had around this new moon. And that conversation or those modifications, whatever that may be, is helping to open the door, right? So that you can move forward after facing or finding your sort of center between these shifts, right? So with the 15, we have the energy of the 1 and the 5. 5 is big, freeing energy. It wants to be free. It doesn't want to be contained. It doesn't want to be restricted. It wants to experience life with all of its senses. 1 is very much about self. It's very about self-identity. And then 6 is about relationships and those deeper connections and home life. So there could be sort of this tug of war, push-pull energy between your sense of self, your identity, and what that's going to look like when you go into a stronger commitment or move in together or have a baby or whatever the case may be. And so those are things, of course, that you need to look at, like how can I enter into this relationship while maintaining myself, my sense of self, my autonomy, because that can absolutely be done. And it's actually very healthy to do that, where you're not losing yourself in that connection or in that other person. And then also, if it's a healthy relationship, it's actually very possible to maintain a sense of independence while you are, in an interdependent relationship. So it becomes sort of like this more like self-reflection and inner work to figure out what's my balance here? Like, what does that look like for me and what feels good? And being very honest with yourself about that. And then being very honest with the other person about what you feel you need in order to achieve that. And then being open to hearing what they have to say for themselves as well. And then if you can meet in the middle, then, what's stopping you at that point? So beautiful energies here around this new moon, but this is also new moon energy. So it's like new starts, new beginnings, a new way of seeing things, fresh eyes, setting new intentions, seeing a different way of doing it that's more progressive, like you're able to like start something new and take a risk and, do it differently. So if whatever comes up for you around home, family, close friendships, that sort of needs to be worked through or whatnot, or that you're, again, overly cautious about or defensive about, it's just starting to clear that path, right? That's why it's coming up. That's why you're being confronted with it. So pay attention to that. Don't steer clear of it. Just move through it. And it's going to open the doors for you to be able to move forward in a healthy way, in a very progressive way. And it's going to calm that need for caution or that need for defensiveness. So in the end, it's all working for you, not against you. So beautiful energies. It's what we do with it, of course, but you're definitely being set up to clear something out, to come to some kind of, compromise, right? Which can be really beautiful. So I hope it's a great new moon for you all. Take care as 11s. Bye for now.